SUV or crossover? How do they tow when the towing gets tough?
For years, you guys have been asking us, please take a crossover up the IKE Gauntlet, and we've done that. Actually, we've done it more than once, but this time, what we want to do is show some of you guys out there the differences between having a truck-based SUV versus a crossover, because they're very different when it comes to towing.
Yes, and have a 5,000-pound trailer and the world's toughest towing test. Let's do it. Today we have the IKE Gauntlet. It's an 8-mile stretch of interstate highway here in Colorado Rocky Mountains, 8% grade and total elevation of 11,153 feet. We're gonna run the big QX80 first with the trailer down and up the mountain and see how it does. And then we're gonna run the Atlas Cross Sport, the crossover, up and down and compare the differences that we find. All right, Nathan, I'm about to begin the world's toughest towing test in the Infiniti.
You're in tow mode, right? And we're gonna be doing a regular thing where you're not gonna be screwing around with cruise control or anything, right?
That's right, coming out of the tunnel at 50 as I am right now. And we're gonna count brake applications the way we always do. All right, here I am, I'm out of the tunnel. And I'm gonna let the transmission and the truck think for itself. And as soon as I reach 60 miles an hour, I'm gonna use the brake to bring it down to 50.
And forward.
Here's my first brake, dude.
Is the transmission doing anything for you?
Yes, this is the 7-speed. Made it to this V8. And it did downshift, so I am very happy so far. The QX80 does have this view, especially for towing. Active lines for steering in the back. The resolution on these cameras is not that great, but what they did change for 2021 is this. Look, high definition rear view camera, and it actually has way more adjustments that you ever dreamed of. You can make it brighter, you can go down or up. You can also go left to right, and this is perfect for towing because I can see when the trailer is behind me what's on the sides of the trailer. This is really useful for towing. You can also rotate it. So if the road is maybe has got some crown in it and you want to see a little bit more on one side or the other, you can rotate the view. That's nice. Right here, the QX80 is a truck-based SUV. It's got a beefy frame underneath, it's got a giant V8 engine. What does that mean? Well, it means you have a sturdy platform, your vehicle is a little bit heavier, and towing 5,000 pounds right now, it's handling it with ease because the vehicle itself weighs a little bit more than the trailer. What oftentimes happens when you're towing with a smaller vehicle is the vehicle weighs less than the trailer you're pulling. So there's a big tendency of the trailer trying to kind of push the vehicle around. That's not happening here. So the transmission shifted up near the top of the mountain, but it's been kind of bouncing between about 3,000 and 4,500 RPM, and it's not providing that ultimate kind of grade shifting that we like to see and that most pickup trucks actually offer.
We had to find a weight that not only challenged the Atlas, but made the Infiniti think a little bit. So we came up with 5,000 pounds, and this is how we did it. Our trailer, which weighs about 3,000 pounds, and Tweety, which weighs 2,000 pounds-ish, we came up with 5,000 pounds. And here's the best part. That is maximum towing for the Volkswagen Atlas, and not exactly maximum for the Infiniti, not at all.
Well, dude, I think we're done. We are leveled off, and I counted 8 brake applications.
That's not too bad.
I think the transmission could have been a little bit more aggressive, but now let's go up the mountain and see how that does.
Yeah, that's going to be the real test.
This is one of my favorite V8 engines, and it's in a lot of vehicles, including the Titan, including the Armada, and it's a 5.6 liter V8. This one puts out 400 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. You get maximum horsepower when you're on premium fuel. And it's hooked up to a 7-speed automatic transmission, which is a bit of a mystery because the Titan, which in my book is a little less sophisticated, has the new 9-speed automatic transmission, which is a really smooth transmission. This 7-speed, we've driven it in several different vehicles, and Andre and I agree, it's not the best transmission for towing.
Right, as always, I'm gonna start the uphill at 35 miles an hour. I'm gonna start the timer and zero out. And go!
Andre, you were out accelerating me even though you're towing, just so you know.
Are you serious?
I was flat for a second there and you were pulling away a little bit.
Something you all should know about both of these vehicles. They have cousins. Now the Infiniti, this has a couple brothers. It actually has the Nissan Patrol overseas, which is a badass vehicle, has lots of off-road goodies that we just don't get here, which sucks, but it also has the Nissan Armada, which is a less expensive version of this vehicle. God, I wish they had a locking rear axle.
So I've been modulating the throttle on the uphill, and right now I can feel the mountain is biting. So my foot is buried in an accelerator right now. I could feel the Infiniti, it's not easy.
I noticed an itty little bit of trailer sway. It doesn't look like it's anything tragic, it's just a little bit. Can you feel it from there?
No, dude, this Infiniti feels stable as a rock. And of course, when you're buying a full-size truck-based SUV, you're getting a heavier vehicle, bigger vehicle, but also a little bit more payload. 1,344 on this particular QX80. And a max tow rating of 8,500 pounds, which is close to being best in class. I'm gonna stop the timer as I'm crossing. And now, perfect run, 5.1 mpg. 5.1.
Okay, so the MPG isn't what I'd call stellar, especially because you're not pulling a full load, but it's not horrible. We've done loads that are similar and had like 3 or 4 miles per gallon results.
Yeah, so now it's time to switch trailers and see what the crossover can do. When you're buying a full-size SUV like this, it's usually quite expensive, and part of the reason is also the suspension system. This Infiniti QX80 has air suspension in the rear, which can level out the load. Let's see if it did. Before I hooked up the trailer, I was at about 35 inches, and look now, I'm still at about 35, maybe a quarter inch lower than that. So the truck actually leveled itself out. Yes, I do have that weight distribution attachment also, which Nathan will show you right now.
This is the full hookup, and this is from Gen Y. And here's the best part about this. You're able to level everything out. One of the most important things is to keep your vehicle as level as possible and make sure that you have weight properly distributed. And the reason why is when it's braking, accelerating, and even cornering, all of that matters in terms of balance. This is the brand new glider from Gen Y, and Mr. Truck and Mr. Tow, that's Andre, love it. It takes a lot of the friction out of the towing vehicle. So in other words, you have a trailer back here and this whole thing is cushioned, and it really does help make the ride so much more pleasant. One of the issues that we had, which we did in a previous video about this vehicle towing, was this. Well, part of this, it came with a European 8-pin connection. Well, we don't have that here. It's kind of strange because this vehicle is actually built in the United States, in Chattanooga, and It's built for an American audience. So it's kind of strange that we had to get a special connector to connect to this in order to connect to the trailer. It's a little annoying.
Yeah. Oh yeah! Now here's the funny part. Neither the Infiniti nor the VW Atlas actually have a built-in brake controller, so we're using this. It's a Prodigy remote control system which plugs into a 12-volt outlet, and it has a manual override for the brakes and controls the gain also right here. A really nice solution when you have one trailer but maybe multiple vehicles to tow it with. I'm gonna exit the tunnel at 50 and count the brake applications.
10-4, do you have a tow haul?
That is a negatory. And here I'm approaching my first brake application. Let's see if the Atlas actually adjusts to what I'm doing. It did not downshift.
Dude, it did not downshift for me.
Now, I've been told that it knows that it's towing when you have it plugged in.
I'm being fairly aggressive on my brake, but still the transmission is not reacting to me. Actually, the Atlas Cross Sport, it's a little bit higher resolution. Check it out, you can select exactly which view you want to see, front or back. Very neat. It also has the self-park feature and also the trailer hookup feature here, which is quite useful. So a little bit more as far as available camera views, but no camera rear view mirror.
So the old measurement was 33 3/4, and this time it's about the center, just shy of 32 inches. So that's a significant drop. Now keep in mind, yeah, we've done this before with pickup trucks, which have dropped up to 3 inches, but they're a lot higher off the ground. This means that that tow hitch is getting really close to the ground.
This Atlas Cross Sport represents the mid-size crossover, I think, really, really well. It's on the larger size of things. That means it has a pretty long wheelbase, it's really wide, and actually it helps with towing. I feel really confident, even though I'm not using a weight distribution hitch on this crossover. Normally you wouldn't be able to in a lightweight vehicle like this, but that's the unibody. I have no sway. This Atlas Cross Sport, this is a pretty typical payload for a crossover like this, even mid-size. But 1,091 pounds for an all-wheel drive crossover, that's not too bad. And a maximum towing rating of 5 grand. Ooh, I have to hit my brake one last time, dude. This is 10. Actually, 10 brake applications in a crossover that doesn't really have, you know, a specific towing focus. I think it's a good result.
We've driven trucks that have had that many brake applications.
Yeah, proper pickup trucks.
Yeah, so that's not too bad, especially considering it is towing its maximum amount of weight. And so far, your tracking is pretty good. I have not seen as much, tail wagging the dog as I expected.
276 horsepower. 266 pound-feet of torque, and that's what you get with this narrow angle V6, which is a 3.6 liter, and it's hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission, feeding all 4 wheels through 4Motion all-wheel drive. Andre's in love with this power plant. They've been around for a long time, and one of the things about them is that they're very narrow, so it's easy for packaging. So you could put them in the same space as a 4-cylinder. And you can see there's lots of extra space back here where we can add like another 4-cylinder engine, which would be really awesome, because then we can make this into an almost 10-cylinder, which would be really good.
thing. I'm about to start at the same speed on the on-ramp, 35 miles an hour, start the timer, restart the trip meter, and go! Okay, I'm full throttle.
He's flat out.
I'm pedal to the metal.
You almost at 50?
There I am, I'm at 60. That was not, you know, crazy acceleration, but it's okay.
Yeah, there looked like a little bit of a lag. You were lagging for just a minute and then it kind of kicked in.
On the way up the mountain, I will be using sport mode just to make sure I'm getting everything out of this engine. Or if you're in other conditions like slippery, snow, or for off-roading, you can also use this dial.
At this angle, I can really see how much squat you got going on. It's pretty noticeable.
Dude, I had a big breakfast, okay?
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Atlas and the Atlas Cross is the fact that it really is sort of a middle player. It doesn't have the best power, but it doesn't have the worst. It doesn't have the best towing, but it doesn't have the worst. It really is right there in the middle.
And, you know, these mirrors are okay. This flat car hauler trailer, I can see around it just fine. Neither one of these have towing mirrors, but it's okay.
I gotta be honest with you, I am not satisfied with the Infiniti mirrors at all. They're way too small for my taste. This vehicle, the Atlas Cross, has a regular Atlas, which basically is the same vehicle except it has a little bit more length to it and allows for a third row.
We get this question a lot from you guys. I have a mid-size crossover. You know, it could be anything, you name it. Ford Explorer, Toyota Highlander, Honda Pilot, and can I tow 5,000 pounds? Well, this is exactly why we're doing this video right here. And the answer right now, right here is yes. If you have proper equipment, if you load the trailer correctly, if you have a good weight balance, and if you have a nice hitch like this glider hitch that's actually cushioning the load and making this ride nice and smooth, then yes. If you're towing every day or almost every week, I wouldn't push it to the limit like this. But it can do it on occasion. But if you do need to tow a little bit more, like 6,000, 7,000 pounds, maybe 8, you gotta step up to a big SUV. I'm out of power at the end. I'm going 49 miles per hour. I'm about to cross the finish line, and I'm gonna clock it now. 5.7 mpg, 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Actually, guys, this is very close to 8 minutes. I'm very pleased.
Alright, dude, you ready? 5.7 mpg, 8 minutes and 8 seconds.
That is not bad, both MPG and time-wise. I'm impressed. It did better than I thought it would.
Yeah, it kicked some butt.
Surprise, surprise, surprise! Yes, the Atlas didn't tow quite as well as this big bad SUV, but that's obvious. This is basically a car, and that's basically a truck. But what we wanted to point out is the differences and also the benefits. I gotta say, I was really impressed with its ability going uphill and its MPG.
Well, really what you have here is you have a fully optioned $50,000 crossover versus a fully optioned $80,000 big SUV, so you have a big price difference as well. And I was actually pleasantly surprised how well the Atlas Crossport actually did. I'm flabbergasted.
I'm not quite flabbergasted, but I am impressed. And nonetheless, we've towed with the QX80 before. We know it's a decent tow vehicle. And Infiniti, 2 things. 9-speed would be great, and maybe a slightly faster acting rear suspension system that actually gets the rear up within a month.
And giant towing mirrors.
Bigger mirrors, please, please. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. And yes, we intend to do more crossovers up IKE Gauntlet.
And go back to TFLtruck.com for all the latest news, views, and real-world reviews. Also TFLoffroad.com, TFLcar.com. All the latest news.
See you guys.